You've heard the phrase a million times. I think, therefore I am. It's maybe the most famous line in all of philosophy. It's supposed to be this rock-solid foundation for everything we know. But what if it's not? What if it's got some serious cracks? Okay, let's really dig into this. So let's rewind a bit. We're back in the 17th century, and the philosopher René Descartes drops this little Latin bombshell on the world. And of course, you know the English translation. It's been everywhere ever since. And you got to admit, it feels right, doesn't it? Like, the very fact that I'm having a thought proves that I'm here to have it. But that's the big question, isn't it? When we really put this legendary idea under the microscope, does it actually give us that absolute bulletproof certainty Descartes was searching for? Let's find out. To really get a handle on the phrase, you have to understand the guy behind it. René Descartes, often called the father of modern philosophy. And for good reason, he basically decided to hit the reset button on centuries of philosophical tradition that said trust your senses. See, Descartes was on a mission. He wanted to find just one thing, one single belief that was so true you absolutely could not doubt it. And to do that, he realized he first had to take a philosophical wrecking ball to everything he thought he knew. His main tool for this demolition job? Something called hyperbolic doubt. The strategy was simple, but totally extreme. If you could find even the tiniest, most ridiculous reason to doubt something, you had to treat it as completely false. He was trying to strip everything away to get to, well, philosophical ground zero. So just how far did he take this? Well, first, he threw out his senses. You've seen an optical illusion, right? A stick in water looks bent. So senses? Can't trust them. Gone. Second, he doubted all of physical reality. I mean, how do you know you're not in a super realistic dream right now? You don't. So that's gone too. But then he takes this incredible third step. He imagines a supremely powerful evil demon whose only job is to trick him about everything. What if this demon is making you believe that 2 + 2 = 4 when it really equals 5? So even math and logic have to go. So after this absolute demolition of belief, Descartes is standing in the rubble, looking for one single thing that survived, one thing that the evil demon couldn't possibly trick him about. And that's when he has his huge breakthrough. He realizes, wait a minute, even if this demon is deceiving me about everything, there has to be a me for it to deceive. The very act of being tricked, the very act of doubting, proves that the doubter exists. And that was it. That was the one belief that survived the fire. I exist. That was his unshakable foundation. But, finding one tiny brick doesn't build a house. Descartes planned to use this single point of certainty to rebuild the entire structure of human knowledge. So let's see how he tried to pull that off. His argument went something like this. He looked into his own mind and found the idea of infinity. But he's a finite, limited being. So where could that idea have come from? He reasoned it must have been put there by a truly infinite being. In other words, God. And he figured a perfect God wouldn't be an evil deceiver like that demon. A perfect God would be good. And that means the clear and distinct ideas God gives us, like math, logic, and physics, must actually be true. And just like that, he's back in business. Now, that's a pretty clever chain of logic, right? Going from I exist to God exists, and then to physics is real. But a lot of other philosophers immediately started pointing out what they saw as a huge, fatal flaw. It's known as the Cartesian circle. The basic accusation is that he's arguing in a circle. It sounds like he's saying, I trust my clear idea of God to prove God exists, and I trust God's existence to prove my clear ideas are trustworthy. It's like saying, my friend is honest because he told me he's honest. Now, to be fair, Descartes' real argument is a little more subtle than that. He claims he uses the specific content of the idea of infinity to prove God, and then God's existence validates his other clear ideas. It's a fine point, but one that philosophers have been fighting about for 400 years. But forget the circular reasoning for a second. Some critics argue that the problems go way deeper. They say the cracks are in the very foundation he started with, the Cogito itself. So here's the first big challenge. The statement, I think, therefore I am, kind of smuggles in a huge assumption from the get-go. And that assumption is the word I. This quote just nails it. Maybe Descartes went too far. All his method of doubt really proves is that thinking is happening, or thoughts exist.
Does it really prove there's a single, stable, unified self, an I, that's having them? That's a huge leap.
Okay, but the next critique, this one might be even bigger. It digs into what it even means to think. To have the thought, I think, therefore I am, you need language, you need words. So where did you get those words?
This is just a killer counter-argument. Language isn't something you invent on your own in a vacuum. It's a social tool built by a community over generations. So if thinking itself depends on this social tool, then the act of thinking doesn't prove you exist in isolation. It might actually prove that others exist. I think, therefore we are.
And finally, there's a critique that turns Descartes' own ultimate weapon, the evil demon, right back on him. Remember how the demon could supposedly trick you about basic math? That word, therefore, is the key. I think, therefore I am. That is a logical step. It's an inference. But hold on. If that all-powerful demon can fool you about something as certain as 2 + 2 = 4, why couldn't it also be fooling you about whether therefore even works? By his own radical rules, Descartes should have doubted the very logic he used to reach his one certainty.
So, okay, after all that, after poking all these holes in it, should we just throw the whole phrase in the philosophical trash? No way. Not at all. Its role has just evolved.
Maybe the real genius of I think, therefore I am isn't that it's a perfect, bulletproof answer. Maybe its real lasting power is that it's the perfect starting point. It's the ultimate framing of one of the most important questions we can ever ask. What is the one thing, if anything, that I can truly know for sure?
And that's the really tricky thought I want to leave you with. If Descartes' foundation has cracks, if you can't even be 100% certain of your own thinking self, then where on earth are you supposed to begin?